I want to talk to you for a minute about the idea of referendum, initiative, and recall. You have to understand what this does. It gives you the power to make laws. That sounds amazing. What's an initiative? Well, an initiative is a petition, and it states what it is you want. Let's say you wanted to have a referendum on whether or not driver's licenses should be given to people who've been convicted of 3 impaired drivings, that it should be taken away. So you draft an initiative which says, we the undersigned hereby petition our government for a referendum on the following question. Be it resolved that after 3 convictions for impaired driving, no one should be allowed to ever drive a licensed motor vehicle for 10 years. That would be an initiative. What has to happen in a constitutionally established right of initiative, referendum, and recall is that you have to get maybe 10% of the people affected by that decision, and that's an arbitrary number, it could be 9, could be 5, could be 4%, to sign that petition and then send it to the chief electoral officer, who assesses it and determines that yes, 10% or 5% have signed it. Now it goes to a referendum. And a referendum is that question put to all the people. That referendum then says, are you in favor of the following resolution? Be it resolved that, as a matter of law, after 3 convictions for impaired driving, no one should be allowed to drive a licensed motor vehicle for 10 years. Yes or no? Then all the people of the whole of society, on an election date, votes on that question. That is now a referendum question. And if the majority are in favor of that, it passes. If the majority are not, it does not. Well, why don't we have that now? Because constitutionally we have a parliamentary democracy that does not, in fact, enable that unless the legislature agrees. The difference being that now you would have a constitutional right to a referendum, initiative, and recall. Now, what's recall? Recall is where you initiate a petition for the recall of a member of parliament. Say you're in a constituency and your member of parliament has voted against what he promised, or he votes for something he said he wouldn't. Well then, if 10% of the people in the constituency sign a petition for the recall, that is the basically firing of that member of parliament, guess what? Then it goes to a referendum of all the people in that constituency. So there you have it, referendum, initiative, and recall in a nutshell. And what does that mean? Well, look, I've got a lot of strong opinions. I express them openly, and if I was a leader of a country, maybe Western Canada, or just a member of parliament or a cabinet minister, all these opinions that I have, well, what about them? You don't like my opinions? Fine. It has no effect whatsoever, what I might think, unless it's persuasive, unless you agree with it, then it would not become law, no matter how much I might believe it. So therefore, you see, what it amounts to is this. You and me and everyone in our society, for the first time, would have a significant voice in the way we govern ourselves. We would be making the law, even between elections. The Parliament would be able to pass laws and revoke laws, but we would have that power too. And this would simply mean that individual opinions would become relevant. It would become important to the extent that you could influence others to have a petition for the initiative of legislation or for the recall of members of parliament. You and I, for the first time in our lives, would have real, responsible government and direct democracy, so that parliament is important, but you are not irrelevant between elections. So that's referendum, initiative, and recall, and regardless of whether you like all my other opinions, and you've heard some of them, this is one that you should really like, because it would give you and all of us the power to really make a significant difference in this new, free, independent nation of Western Canada. And I'll finish by saying this, that these provisions of referendum, initiative, and recall will never be possible in Canada because the Constitution cannot be amended. Well, I'll explain that a little later, but referendum, initiative, and recall is real, responsible government. I'm for it. What about you? Thanks.